Welcome to Business Casual. I am Mihae Ahn, your host and author of The Stories We Tell and Perfectly Incomplete. Business Casual brings you unfiltered conversations with badass, inspiring, highly accomplished women. I am passionate about and believe in the power of sharing stories, our authentic, raw, incomplete stories, getting beyond the polished LinkedIn profiles to the real humans behind the titles. My guest today is Kim Chernecki. Kim is an entrepreneur, coach, and a super connector. She has founded multiple companies throughout her career, including CEO Performance Advisor and Vibe CEO. I look up to her for many reasons. One of them is how she lives her mission and purpose with such generosity and authenticity. She's coached to her core, an unbelievable super connector. Some key takeaways from our chat include: authenticity is key in building connections. The grind in business can be counterproductive, while flow and alignment can lead to success. Life's unpredictability requires adaptability and energy management. Today's conversation was absolutely energizing with lots of learnings. Please enjoy. Hi Kim, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Mihae?
I'm doing good, thank you. Thank you for joining. I know you're very busy with multiple really exciting initiatives that you have ongoing. Your calendar is packed, I'm sure. Really appreciate you carving out the time to chat with me.
Do anything.
So last week went to an event that you hosted, which was so amazing. Vibe CEO. It was launch event, right? So what I
Yeah.
liked about that event, Kim, was um, the women there in the room. They were quite open to just chat, and even though most of them didn't know each other. I didn't know anyone but you when I went to the event.
Just throw you right in
Yes, I
the
just
deep
went.
end.
Really appreciate the invite. So went, and people were women were vulnerable and just sharing their real stories, and they were all also light. Right? Yeah, some things are serious and whatnot, and the situation right now, like with all uncertainty and all, can be stressful. But lighten up and just share. So I loved it. Thank you
Thank you.
for the
Thank you.
platform. Please tell us a little bit more about what you just started, what it is, what the goal and purpose is, and all.
Sure. So the event, obviously, that you're talking about was Vibe CEO, and it was our inaugural launch event. And what Vibe CEO is, it's the ultimate female CEO community. It's for women who are running businesses. And I see you as a future CEO, so I naturally thought of asking you. It's also for people who are aspiring. But, throughout my career, I've worked with thousands of CEOs and executives, usually bigger companies, in advisory coaching capacity. And I've always been, at the heart, an entrepreneur. So have, some different business ventures that are running kind of simultaneously. The Vibe CEO really represents the culmination of everything I've been working towards. It's my passion for working with women. I love men. Don't get me wrong. Love men, love working with men. There's something about women that's so relational. It's like the sisterhood, right? So bringing that together and bringing together a community and a membership-based community, which I'm turning into we're obviously, this is going to be a business. It's going to be an opportunity for female business leaders, CEOs, founders, managing partners, managing directors, women who are running businesses to be able to, it's a peer group community. It's where they can bring their biggest challenges to the table with like-minded women who are also running businesses. So that's what that is about. And it's I'm partnering with, you met my partner, Geraldine Ochab, who is a former, high power med tech CEO. And the thing that's so fabulous about Vibe is it's got the personal development spiritual side to it. And when Geraldine and I came together, we weren't setting out to build Vibe. It just happened. It flowed. We knew we wanted to do something together. She used to be a client of mine. I used to work with her when she was a CEO. And it just flowed. And it just, from the very moment every single person walked into that room last Thursday, there was a vibe. There was an energy that I've never seen before. And everyone said, Kim, the vibe here is amazing. And that's what we were creating. So it's really, I am so passionate about it because it happened so in flow and so effortless. We didn't have to work hard at it. It just really unfolded. And it was very successful, the launch event. So yeah, that's what it's about. Thank you for asking.
That happens, right? Sometimes you just grind and grind and grind, and it just doesn't move. And sometimes it happens like that.
I have to say the grind, when you have to grind too hard, and I know we're going to be talking about a few things today, it's almost not like, it doesn't really bear a lot of fruit. It's when you're aligned and things happen more effortlessly and you're in your zone of genius, that's when things, I think, are really successful in your life. Doesn't mean you don't have challenges. Of course you have challenges, but when you have to grind, I don't know, I'm at an age and stage, I don't want to be doing that anymore.
Yes. Speaking of grind, do you have experience that you can share with us that now looking back, I should have pulled myself out of that grind earlier, but I didn't know back then? Because sometimes you don't really know when you're in it, right? Later, when you reflect, oh yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, definitely. So, how do I state this? So I had my own business called Freedom Street for 12 years. It was my kind of first real business where I worked with CEOs and executives to help them develop consulting businesses, right? Or advisory businesses where they didn't want to stay in corporate anymore. They wanted to start up their own business. So I did that for 12 years, worked beautifully. Then I had an opportunity to have a fractional role with an organization that just, I mean, it was really meant to be. I was very, very happy with this opportunity. And at the very same time, I all of a sudden stuff hit the fan with my aging parents. So it was really a godsend that I got this opportunity. But what happened was, because I was so involved with taking care of my parents and moving them into long-term care and all this stuff, and then I had this fractional opportunity, I kind of let my Freedom Street business go. I couldn't do all three. I couldn't do it. And this fractional opportunity, although it was great, ended up being a real grind. And I knew that I needed to leave it, but I didn't know how, because I had already let this other business go, and having a job isn't my thing. Like I haven't had a job working for someone else for like since 2012. So I knew I just couldn't go back to a job. So I was kind of stuck. So I kept on with the grind until a situation happened that all of a sudden I had to close it down. And so then I went into a bit of panic mode. So that's combining a few things. So I didn't leave the grind because I had to pay the bills.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
The the next book idea for me that I am entertaining at the moment is the gray in life. Because things are really black and white, and it is very tough to know what is right or more right and what is more wrong for me and for my loved ones. And for my future and making decisions as we go, I find it quite tough. The more responsibilities we gather, like the bills, and it gets tougher and more to lose, right?
I love the name of your book, Gray. That's amazing because you're right. Decisions aren't black and white always. But what is more right? What is more wrong? Like that, yeah, that's very interesting.
Yes. So coaching, how did you get into coaching, Kim? Back in the days when you got into it.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I just always knew that, I mean, I've always coached. I've always been a coach or an advisor or a strategist. And I've just always had this entrepreneurial bug because I've just never been happy, completely happy working for somebody else. It's just, it's got to be my vision. It's got to be my idea. I mean, that's what's always really driven me. And I've worked with some great organizations, including the last organization I worked for. I learned so much. It was brilliant. It was entrepreneurial, but it was still someone else's business. I didn't have ownership in it. I didn't want ownership in it. And so I just knew I wanted to go out on my own. And for probably the last 3 to 4 years working at that organization, I just knew that I wanted to basically what I wanted to do is work with senior people. I've always been drawn to work with CEOs and executives and professionals. I've just always been drawn to that. But I wanted to work with them to kind of tap into their superpowers and be able to turn that into businesses. And then that's just all evolved. So I just I guess I just inherently in my soul knew I just couldn't work for the rest of my life. I couldn't be at a job working for someone. I just couldn't do it, no matter what position it was, because it needed to be mine and I wanted to have more impact. And one of the things I've always believed in is that we all have innate, what I like to call superpowers. I know Andrea talked about that at the event. And I wanted to help people tap into their superpowers just like I wanted to be tapping into mine. And one of my superpowers is being strategic, being visionary. And it's really hard to do that working for well, for me, working for someone else. So it's just always been this burning desire. And then I pick up and left my last role in 2012, started up my own business, struggled for a couple of years because financially, but then it all came together because these things take time, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man. That is one of the things that I gathered at the event last week. The 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 courage so many women in that room had to start their own venture at some point in their journey, and how excited they were about their um, babies, right? And
Yes.
talking about it with such passion. Man, I really enjoyed. Yeah.
Yeah, enjoyed that. Yeah, because there was quite a few women there that were founders, right? Or had
Right.
started up their own businesses. Either they were founders and grown them. There was quite a few there too who had stepped into an organization and rose to the CEO role, but just as many people who, to your point, they founded a business. It was their babies and they were growing it. So yeah, I love that. I just love that. I love it when people tap into their passion, what they're passionate about, and turn it into a business.
Yes. For me, if you don't mind me sharing my thought about your superpower, is
Sure, please.
the ha, whenever we connect, you have this thing that brings something out of me. I want to just open up and just talk to you.
Love that.
So you have that power, and that is not something that you can force people to do in any human interaction. You just can't.
That's
So,
that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. As a power, but I guess it is just treating people like they're human and really caring about them and having fun.
yes, and naturally have them feel that way. Because sometimes we have all the right intention and all the right everything, but it just doesn't really come out the way that we need it to come
Yeah,
out.
that's a good point. That's a really good point. And
Yeah.
I think what you're saying, it's about it it's authenticity, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Just being yourself. Not everyone is great at, like, okay, if I can be really, I'm going to be really honest here. I don't love networking.
You?
I don't. Because, so I do, but I don't. There was that event. I had roles. I love people. I love one on one interactions. I love having a purpose at an event. But just to go in and then kind of strike up conversations, and the fear that I might be a wallflower is
Uh-huh.
like I get worried about that. So I like having tasks to do, and then I feel like I'm more in my element. But that's just being really real. I mean, networking is so important. I think I prefer the one-on-one engagement. Yeah.
I I I was surprised to hear that because the next thing that I was gonna say as your superpower was
Yeah.
the connection that you have with so many people. You have massive network. So that's why I thought you networking.
Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? Well, and it's interesting because a good friend of mine, Chris McGurr, who was also there, I don't know if you spoke with her, she was there on last Thursday. And she's got, like, yes, I have a massive network. So does she. She is so connected. But we had a conversation recently, and we talked about the fact that if we can't talk about business or we don't have something to connect with people on, we can feel really awkward in big social settings. So
Uh-huh.
isn't that interesting? Like, I love my network. I am a super connector,
Mhm.
but I don't love working a room. That's not my, I don't like it. No, I shouldn't say I don't like it. It doesn't always feel comfortable. I can feel
Uh-huh.
awkward with it.
Yeah, well, that is encouraging because without being that type of person who can just work the room wherever they go comfortably, but still can build great network the way that you did. That is encouraging because I don't feel comfortable going into any networking event. I feel like fish out of water. I feel very uncomfortable, including Thursday last week, right? But I
Yeah.
did it,
You
and
did.
how warm it was. Some events you go and I really become wallflower. Some event like last week, it wasn't like that because there was already community, and people were all willing to open up and accept each other.
Which
Yeah.
was amazing. That I'm so glad. So that did take a lot of courage. If I was going somewhere where I didn't know anyone except for the host, I would have felt the same way. I would have felt like, oh my God, right? The uncomfortableness. Yeah.
Yeah, I made
No,
quite a bit of connections, and it was
good.
not just collecting business cards type connection, right? It was
Yeah.
actual connection. So I loved it.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing. I love that.
Kim, someone like you, who I'm sure many people will say your name to this question. Who
Okay.
has been your biggest influence? Who has been your biggest influence so far?
That's a great question. So I've had a number of business mentors who, for the most part, have been men. Who've helped me business wise. Would I say one over another? There's probably about four that throughout my career were, believed in me, where I really learned from. Even one who was not necessarily a nice person, but he really pushed me and I learned a lot because of him. But I have to say, the people that have had most influence are more people I've followed from a personal spiritual perspective, like Deepak Chopra, like Wayne Dyer, like I don't know if you're familiar with Abraham Hicks, it's all around the law of attraction. Those are people, especially Abraham Hicks and Deepak Chopra, who I follow. They've inspired me, and their whole formula around life and the law of attraction and deliberate intention and all that. Those have really been my biggest. I would say those have been my biggest. Those authors and speakers are ones that have influenced me the most,
Yeah.
and where I've had the most resonance. And yeah,
I have those authors and speakers that I really look up to and follow too, and they have been good influence, like really great influence. So
is there one in particular? Is there one in particular? Yeah,
there are more than one for sure,
yeah,
but the ones that I actively listen to podcast, Tim Ferriss,
yes,
Simon Sinek,
yes, yep,
Adam
yep.
Grant, interesting
Nice.
all men and all white men.
Isn't that interesting? Isn't that
Yeah,
interesting?
but they're so amazing. And yeah,
Yeah.
if I pick a
All
woman,
white men.
yeah,
I love it. I love it.
Brené Brown for sure. The whole vulnerability
Yep.
thing that she talks about, I
Yep.
very much resonate with that for
Me
the
too.
leadership journey. So yeah, I look up to her.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, God, when you mention that, I mean, there's a number of big female celebrities who I love too. I mean, I know this almost sounds trite, but Oprah to me
Yes.
was just, she was just like what she stood for, what she
Hmm.
stands for, and the journey she's been on, and how much she has influenced so many women. I just have to say, I just have so much time for her too. Like she just, wow, she's just she's unparalleled in her impact, right?
Very true. Yeah, it is so
Yeah,
interesting that even though she has influenced me, I rarely talk about her because she's just so big, I think.
she's so big. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I
Michelle Obama
agree.
is another that I
Oh,
love. Yeah. But
oh,
again, she's so
oh,
big.
oh my God. She's so, oh, but she's just, I don't know why I didn't even think of her. I mean, I've read her books. She's beyond me and her husband. Oh,
Yes.
I am just, Barack and Michelle Obama are to me just two of the most, I mean, they're just good people and they're so evolved.
I
And
agree.
how they contribute constantly. And it's funny because Barack is right now narrating a nature show, and I just want to watch it so I can hear his voice because
Oh,
I just
yes.
love him.
Which one?
It's what's it called? It's a nature show called, I think it's the world's oceans. The world's
Okay, I'm
oceans.
going to yeah look it up. Love
Yeah,
his
yeah.
voice too, and how
Oh, yeah.
yes, and the use of pause for him. Whenever I saw him right speak, I'm like the how he uses pause so well.
And how he incorporates the kind of the black church, what's it, not pastor, but the minister, the way that they'll engage with the audience. He's got that. And I just love to listen to that. Like you can just hear him, and he'll do the pause, and then he'll go,
Yes,
and then yeah,
yeah,
love. The Obamas are, yeah,
yes.
amazing.
So Vive CEO is new thing that you are doing at this point, and you have another company, CEO Performance, is it?
CEO Performance Advisors, yeah.
Yes. There are more things that you're working on?
No, so, and it's interesting. I think, you know, I have a number of things going on, but they're all aligned, right? They're just not under one umbrella like a job, right? So, CEO Performance Advisors is leveraging my, for the 12 years when I had Freedom Street, I used to work with CEOs and executives who wanted to hang their shingle as advisors, consultants, coaches. And so I developed this amazing network of former corporate executives who are top of their game delivering services back into corporate. So what I did was with CEO Performance Advisors is I decided I'm just going to work with CEOs and their leadership teams to solve their biggest problems throughout their journey as CEO. And I provide these senior A-list consultants or advisors that can help them solve whatever challenge they're having at the time. So that's CEO Performance Advisors. I've got this roster of just amazing senior advisors, and my role is I'd like to call myself a success strategist for CEOs, where I meet with them, have a diagnostic. So what is it that you're needing right now? Is it strategic advisory? Are you having a problem with supply chain? Do you need a leadership coach? Do you need a sales coach? Do you need change management? And I can provide them with someone. So I have that business. That was the one I developed after Freedom Street, and over the last couple of years. I'm still building it. And then Vibe CEO is kind of born out of that, because it just so happens all of the CEOs I've been supporting and providing experts to are female CEOs. And I was like, I love working with female CEOs. And mostly small to medium-sized businesses. And so it just made sense to develop Vibe CEO, have this community, so I can also provide strategic advisory to those CEOs. And it's narrowing you being a marketing guru, knowing it's really important to narrow your target audience, right? So I'm still working with men, CEOs, but my real proactive focus is going to be through Vibe CEO. So CEO Performance Advisors and Vibe CEO, and then my business partner, she is Augmentor, which is CEO Augmentor Services, all lines up,
Beautifully.
lines together. And then I also run some peer groups, as you know, with Mihae CEO Forums and Room Women's Network. And I'm developing a peer group within, Vibe CEO. So everything lines up nicely. It's just not under one company umbrella.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have such full career. You have had such full career so far. If you have to pick like one moment that was really fulfilling, that you are very much proud of, what would that be?
Last Thursday.
Yes, and I was
The-
there. I was
and
part
you were there.
of it.
Hey, hey. It came to, because it was so aligned and effortless. Geraldine and I, we created the brand, we created everything, and we would just meet and it would unfold and unfold. And just everything about it, including, like the speakers that we had, like, the Senator Marie Poulin, who then introduced me to the
Amazing,
president.
Kim.
Wasn't she amazing? Oh my
Mhm.
God. I just talk about a connector. And then she, of course, introduced me to the president and CEO of McDonald's, who was there. To be able to have the president and CEO of McDonald's at that event, and it all just the women, the way everyone leveraged off of each other, and I have to say that has been one of the most fulfilling things, because there was 100 magical moments. Even something as simple as, I got up to speak, to introduce the panel, and I just looked down, and Andrea Nikki, the other speaker, and Marie Poulin, the two speakers we'd had before the break, I just looked at them and I said, nice job. And then together, they both stood up, held
Yes.
hands, and took a bow. Like something as silly as that. That was
Yes.
just, and everyone was like cheering them and all that. It was just magical. So there was like 100 magical moments like that night. And the fact that it just felt like the universe really supported us. It wasn't just us working hard at an event. It was all the right people were there. It just flowed. And to me, when you can flow like that, that was fulfilling. You don't have to grind.
I'll continue to cheer for you that
Thank you.
journey. Yes.
Thank you.
So then, if you were to share moments that that you experienced imposter syndrome? Because many of us go through that.
So when I started up CEO Performance Advisors, so my fractional role I was telling you about, so I had my business Freedom Street. I took on this fractional role that was ended up being about 4 days a week. All the stuff was happening with my parents, and I kind of let Freedom Street go. So I really wasn't generating any income over here anymore, right? And then all of a sudden, my fractional role after 2.5 years was coming to an end. A lot sooner than, I mean, I thought there was going to be a transition period, but there wasn't. Just a 1 month transition. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew I couldn't I just didn't have I knew that Freedom Street had run its course. I just knew it intuitively. I didn't have the energy to get it back up again because I'd let it go. And I applied for a couple of jobs, went for some interviews, but my heart wasn't in it. And so I hired a personal branding coach and came up with the idea of CEO Performance Advisors. It has not been an easy journey. I've got business, it's been fine, but I felt like imposter syndrome. Like I was just like, how am I going to go out and do all this business development, and what have I got myself into? And quite frankly, I felt like I was building some of it on fear because, well, I had to generate cash flow, right? So that was a really tough time. And I've worked with CEOs, but I've worked with a lot of executives too. And then to stake my claim and say, I'm going to work and support CEOs, part of me felt, who am I to do this, right? I knew I had all the skills to do it and I had the experts to do it. But the first few months, that was a tough journey for me. That was really tough.
Oh man. Thank you for
You know?
sharing, Kim. Because
Yeah.
we hear so many success stories everywhere, and the
Of
success
course.
stories tend to not show the tough phases of the whole process to get to the success.
Starting up CEO Performance Advisors was, oh my God. I mean, I'm still working through it, but I was faced with a lot of imposter syndrome. Like, what am I doing? And being torn within because I want this to be my swan song. I want this to be my legacy. And to go and work for someone else at this point in my life, I would have always regretted it. So it's been a real struggle inside myself, but it's also helping me to shift my mindset and shift through all my limiting beliefs, of which I have had a few.
Many of us have that, right? There anyone who doesn't? I'm not sure, but for me, I have
Do
ton
you?
of limiting beliefs. Yes, too many. Even that night came back to Thursday night, May 1. That day, throughout the day, I thought to myself, I'm going to an event that the title says CEO. Like, what it, who am I to attend this event? I mean, I'm really grateful that Kim invited me, but so I talked about it with my husband, and he made a joke. Well, it is not imposter syndrome. You are an imposter. You are not CEO. Well, thanks,
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. That's really encouraging. And you know what's funny though, Mihae? Because you were the only person invited there that wasn't a CEO, except for, a couple of the sponsors and, some people who came with a couple of the CEOs as
I
like,
didn't know.
you were the only one because we Geraldine and I have a huge senior executive network, but we wanted to keep it pure to CEOs. But I said to Geraldine, and I'm not just saying this to say this to you, I said to her, I see Mihae First of all, she's a thought leader. She's making things happen. She's an author. I said, I see her being a CEO one day. And I said, so I would like to ask her. She said, okay.
Oh, thank you.
Honestly. No, absolutely. Because and wait, I want to make sure I'm absolutely accurate. I think one of my girlfriend, or one of the girls who were there, invited a couple people who weren't CEOs. But besides that, so that might have been 5 people who weren't. But we specifically weren't going to do that. So yeah, so that's in complete, total transparency.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Absolutely, my dear.
I was very inspired. I made few notes to myself that night what I'm going to do as commitment to myself after, yeah, talking to amazing
Amazing.
CEOs. And
Amazing. That's
I
so
think
funny
he,
what your husband said, though.
right?
Yeah, but you are an imposter because you're not a CEO.
He's so funny and he's,
That is
yeah.
funny. That's what my husband would say. That's exactly what my husband would say. He'd say something like that. He'll go, get over yourself. Go
Yes.
anyway. No, you're not a CEO, so just go. That's what he would do. That's so, oh my God. Aren't our husbands wonderful?
Yes. So speaking of husband, um,
Yes.
it's there quite a bit of balancing work or creating harmony work needs to happen to have many aspects of our life all come together. And as a woman, as a caregiver, I think women are seen more often, I believe, seen as caregiver, whether caring for young ones or caring for our elders.
Yep.
How did you find your own balance of many different hats that you have been wearing in your life?
Oh, it's been hard. Because I'll tell you, when the proverbial, you know what, hit the fan with my parents, exact same time I got that fractional role, which was meant to be, it was hard. Because I mean, have you cared for aging parents before? Are your parents at that?
No.
So it's, and I have a lot of friends who've been through it. So, and my parents are still with us, and they're, 90 and 93, and it's, there's a lot to do there, and they're in Burlington, and you know how long it takes to get to Burlington from the beaches, right? It's like 2 hours now with all the traffic and construction. So so that has been it's been really hard. It's been hard doing that, and then starting up CEO Performance Advisors. And my husband has just retired. Well, not just retired. He actually retired at the same time I started up CEO Performance Advisors. So he's been a really good support. He's helped, with my parents a bit, and he loves to cook, so he does all the cooking, and so he's good moral support. He's also really good. He Sometimes I can ruminate. We're talking about those limiting beliefs earlier, and sometimes I'll get into this rumination, and like my energy will just, ugh. He will snap me out of it. He won't let me go there. He won't let me go. He's absolutely hilarious. He's really, really funny
Yeah.
in a very bizarre, warped way, and he'll just snap me out, and I'll just go, thank you. Like, he won't let me stay there. So I guess he's been really great in helping me not to take myself too seriously. And, but I mean, managing all of it has been hard. Now, I don't have kids myself. I have a stepdaughter, Craig's daughter, who's 32, and she's just got it all going on. She's a lawyer. She just got married. They just bought their first house. But having the aging parents has been a big thing. And through all this, I also lost a couple of friends to cancer, which was really hard too. And what it's just demonstrated to me is life is what life is. There's some things you can control, most things you can't. So control what you can. And the most important thing is managing your own energy, your own vibe, your own balance and mood and keeping yourself elevated, because I can go pretty low and I can't do anything from there. So it isn't so much about, oh, I didn't achieve this goal, didn't achieve that goal. It's about keeping my whole energy positive. That's so I attract so many more better things. So yeah,
Do you
that's
have
how I balance.
daily habits or rituals to stay in that zone that you want to stay?
Yep. I'm up by 5:15 every morning. I've always gotten up early. I've always been an early riser. For some, that's not that early. I used to work with Nancy McKay, who's up every
Yes.
morning at 4. Oh my
Yeah.
God. But she and I were really good that way because, anyway, I'd start work at 7 and she'd be up at 4, and because she's in Vancouver and
Pacific
doing
time, yeah.
emails with each other. Oh my God. Anyway, so I get up at 5:15. I plan my day. I still use my same day timer I've used since the 90s.
Oh, wow.
It's my thing. I love it. And I plan my day, and then I have my rituals where I will either do some inspirational reading or journaling, or sometimes I'll do meditations. I usually do meditations a little later in the day, but sometimes I'll do a guided meditation in the morning and do a transcendental meditation later in the day. But that morning, that first hour and a half, and then I start work at 7. So that's where my energy is. By the time I'm at 3 o'clock, I'm usually pretty toast. So, and then going for walks in nature, gardening, doing things with my hands, spending time with friends. But I would say the ritual, that morning ritual, is really my golden time, and that's where my whole goal is just to feel great, so I have a great day.
Nice. Heard from many high performers in business, because high performers in business, they mentioned that the first hour every day, they try very hard to protect, because that impacts the rest of the day. Yeah.
It totally does. It totally does. It always sets the tone. And just, like this morning I got up and I started reading an Abraham Hicks book that I've had for, I don't know, 13 years. I just felt inspired to bring it out. I'm like, oh, good. I've got my next book to read again. And I just get reconnected with those principles. And one of the things it said was, don't focus so much on your goals. Focus on feeling good.
Oh man, I love that.
Elevating your vibe, your energy. Because your vibration is what attracts other things to you, right? If you've got a low vibration, you're not going to attract some high vibration stuff, right? So.
Kim, I knew 45 minutes not gonna be enough. Time flew, and we'll need to wrap up pretty soon. Is there anything that you would like to end our conversation with that we didn't get to cover yet?
I think we covered it really nicely. I really liked the flow of this conversation. I just want to say that I'm so impressed by you and your ambition, especially because right now you have a senior executive position in a company, and you are doing your thing. You're doing Mihae, and I really see you evolving into something like, I want to be there throughout your journey. That's what I want to say.
Thank you.
Wherever it takes you.
I really want you there in my journey, in my inner
Beautiful.
circle, please.
We are in each other's inner circle. Absolutely. We've solidified that right now.
Yes. Done deal.
Love it. Thanks, Mihae.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kim. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
That's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Please remember, you have more agency than you often realize. Choose your stories. I'll see you next time.